Welcome back everybody to the channel. It's me, Alejandro Mendoza, Ordinary Chicano. Either way how you say it, it's all good here. And we're back again for another video as we look at another film in my collection. And today's a special one because finally, I've been owing you this film for a while now. At 200 subscribers, I said that I would be reviewing a specific film. And today, on this wonderful Friday afternoon, I'm going to finally review for you all Sergei Bondarchuk's War and Peace on Blu-ray from the Criterion Collection. Of course, if you enjoy content about physical media, make sure that you subscribe to this channel, leave a like on the video, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single piece of content that drops on this channel. If you want to lend an extra helping hand here, go ahead and visit my Patreon at patreon.com/TheNerdChicano and check out my tiers. You can get some early access to videos just like this one you're watching right now, and other cool exclusives like video essays. Either way, it's not mandatory, but it is appreciated, and I just am happy that people watch these videos. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the review of this really long movie. Yes, it's been about months, close to a year, that I've asked you to please subscribe to this channel so that way we could reach 200, and I said that at 200 I would review this film. But I never sat down to watch this film, and now I finally did. I broke it up in between 3 days to watch all 4 parts, and today we're finally going to talk about this really epic film called War and Peace. But before we can get into any of that, we're going to look at the introduction in the back here. We're going to look at the packaging of the film and look at the special features, and you already know how it goes. Let's go ahead and start this, shall we? At the height of the Cold War, the Soviet film industry set out to prove it could outdo Hollywood with a production that would dazzle the world. A titanic, awe-inspiring adaptation of Leo Tolstoy's classic tome in which the fates of 3 souls, the blundering good-hearted Pierre, the heroically tragic Prince Andrei, and the radiant, tempestuous Natasha, collide amid the tumult of the Napoleonic Wars, employing a cast of thousands and an array of innovative camera techniques. Director Sergei Bondarchuk conjures a sweeping vision of grand balls that glitter with rococo beauty and breathtaking battles that overwhelm with their expressionistic power as a statement of Soviet cinema's might. War and Peace succeeded wildly, garnering the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film and setting a new standard for epic movie making. Of course, included in this 2-disc Blu-ray special features, you get new 2K digital restoration with 5.1 surround DTS HD master audio soundtrack, a new interview with cinematographer Anatoly Petrisky, and filmmaker Fyodor Bondarchuk, son of director Sergei Bondarchuk. 2 documentaries from 1966 to 1969 about the making of the film, television program from 1967 on actor Ludmila Savelyeva featuring Sergei Bondarchuk, new program with historian Denis J. Youngblood, Bondarchuk's War and Peace, literary classic to Soviet cinematic epic, detailing the cultural and historical context for the film, Janus film re-release trailer, new English subtitle translation, plus an essay by critic Ella Taylor. Of course, War and Peace comes in at spine number 983 in the Criterion Collection, and this is the front of the Blu-ray. I really like the artwork of this edition from the Criterion Collection. And then this is the back. This is the spine. You open it up and you have your 2 discs right here. The 2 discs. So part 1 and 2 are in this disc along with the documentary, and then the rest of the supplements and the other 2 parts are right here in this disc. So you're gonna just remove this, and we get the essay of the film in here. I don't like these, and I'm really sorry, y'all. I know Criterion is great. I love that they include like posters like this, but I don't like when they have the essays inside of this. Like, I'm just not a fan of when they do it like this. It's just, It's a lot here. It should just be a booklet. Like, just stick to booklets. I'm not a fan of this. I know that the Andrei Rublev version from Criterion Collection comes with one of these as well. I'm just not a fan of it. I think that this is easily worse than the pamphlets. Just make it a booklet or a pamphlet. It's just, yeah. What am I gonna do? Hang this up? Like, no, it's part of the packaging has an essay. Why would I want to hang it up? It just doesn't really make sense. And the back has no art. It's just the cast credits and the crew credits as well. But that's the packaging for War and Peace. Now let's talk about this film. I have never read Tolstoy's novel before, and I didn't quite know what to expect. Napoleon is not my area of expertise within history. When I was studying, my minor in history at university at the time, I was concentrating more on the Cold War and the relations in there. So I know a good amount about history of, the Cold War. I don't know a lot about Russia's history within the Napoleonic Wars. So I went in as blind as I could be to this film, and even then, I think I got the gist of what Tolstoy's novel was and what it stands for within this film. But there's no other way to really express how I feel about this movie other than the one word that is just present within this introduction. It's truly epic. I mean, I say this all the time. In the United States, we tend to slap the label epic on a lot of films that don't really deserve it, to be honest. You have movies like Avatar, or, there's other films that just have slapped epic on it that just don't actually feel like this grandiose epic of a film that has a large scope. And even then, on movies such as, Ridley Scott's The Last Duel, to me, that's an epic. I feel like that is an epic, and it's a movie that takes a large scope, and it's still kind of grounded within its approach, but it still brings to you this monumental story that you have to really follow along for an experience in an extended amount of time. War and Peace really is the definition of an epic. Yes, this movie clocks in at 422 minutes. That is 7 hours and 2 minutes of this movie. This is a lot in here. I mean, it's a lot to follow, but I have never experienced a movie as long as this that has some of the best pacing I've ever seen within a movie. I mean, I have watched movies that are an hour and 40 minutes that feel longer than this. I have watched movies that are 2 hours and 45 minutes that feel longer than this. And yet at 7 hours and 2 minutes, breaking it up, not one single part of this movie feels like it's dragging on or it's being rushed. Yes, some of the parts aren't as good as the other ones, but all of them serve the main story of discussing the spirit of Russia, the spirit of the people in Russia, and the spirit of the government at the time within the Napoleonic War era. Sergei Bondarchuk really creates one of the best movies of all time in this film. I mean, the way that Sergei Bondarchuk directs not just the actors but the crew, and providing some incredible camera techniques like handheld cinematography, like some very interesting choices like POV shots, and everything just comes to work really well together to create this once in a lifetime experience. I just can't explain it more than that. It is a once in a lifetime experience that is really hard to break down into words what it does, not just for the Soviet film industry, but for cinematic history in general. This really is a message to the world that Hollywood is not the one-stop shop. It is not the place that creates the greatest works. When Mosfilm in the Soviet Union created this tremendous piece of art that transcends scope, cinematography, story, to just create an epic story that really resonates with the viewer as they watch everything going down here. I loved the characters, I loved the story, I loved everything about this film, and just how much it was able to take from that huge novel that is Tolstoy's novel and create this really grounded but very expansive story about Russian history. I don't think I'll ever see another film like War and Peace in my lifetime. I think that this is truly as epic as it can get, even though I would put this film up there in contention with epics such as The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, The Ten Commandments, and films such as those that are, to me, those are the definition of epics and what they are. I mean, I've said it before, I think if we were to put Dune 1 and Dune 2, maybe when that one comes out, and we still have to wait for that to come out to really solidify if it is an epic or not, but if you were to put, you know, all these movies that have come out since Return of the King, to me, Lord of the Rings and Return of the King is the final American epic to be released in the United States. And even then, that's not even an American production, that's a New Zealand production. But the last epic to be released by a United States distributor was, to me, The Return of the King. And this right here, the War and Peace, is unlike anything I've ever seen. And honestly, y'all, it's worth the experience. Break it up into 4 parts, and this story will not disappoint you one bit. I would like to say also, before we get into the restoration talk, I did watch some special features. I know, wow, he never does that, but I did. I watched the interview with the cinematographer, and I watched the Historian program. The Historian program really gives you some really interesting depth into the Russian film industry, the Russian film history of the industry in there, and also the very turbulent production that they had. It does give you a really good information, but it's mostly as a way of finding out the production history and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed that for at least context about what's going on behind the scenes of the production, whereas the cinematography interview was really good. I really liked that one, especially because I know they went through 2 cinematographers before they could even reach the one that they ended up working with, and the second was actually a pair of cinematographers. But I really liked that interview. I think they asked some really good questions, and they were able to get some really good answers out of the cinematographer, especially when you discuss how the POV shots came to be and how the handheld shots came to be, and really how the camera became a character of the film as well. So I really enjoyed that discussion with the interviewer. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the restoration. I watched War and Peace on my 4K Panasonic player on my TCL 4K TV, and this is presented in 2K on a Blu-ray disc, so it is going to be upscaled a bit. And I have to say, I'm a little torn when it comes to the restoration of War and Peace. I love the resolution. I think it looks fantastic. Everything looks crisp. The grain plays really well with the resolution that we're working at, especially because it is upscaled, so it's going to look a little bit more than 2K, but not native 4K. Plus, they did some good job at being able to remove scratchings and, damage to the actual print. But when it comes to the actual timing of the color and to the way that the film looks, I'm a little hesitant to call it good. So when it comes to this film, the Soviet film industry, when they were going to make this, and the director and the producers of the film and the cinematographer opted to go ahead and use Soviet film stock. They were originally going to go with Kodak film, but they felt that because it was less expensive and because of the national identity of the Soviet Union, they decided to use Soviet film stock. And because of that, you can tell that this film was a little difficult to work with, because there are multiple parts in the movie, and I would say that it's mostly throughout the whole film, that the color keeps on fluctuating. And if I could point to any example within films that I've watched, I would say rewatch Dersu Uzala on the Criterion channel from Akira Kurosawa that he made with Mosfilm, and it's kind of the same problem. The color fluctuates, you never really have a standard color, but there are moments within the film where it actually sticks to a certain color and you can see a restored image, and those images are beautiful, and they do a great job at rendering out the skin tones and being able to bring out the brightness in the colors. But when the film is fluctuating between all these colors and they're presenting a very staticky image, it kind of takes you out of the film a bit. And it goes to show that sometimes you have to make sacrifices and choose what's best for the movie and not what's best for the powers that be within the industry. I think that it's not a lot that I'm going to fault it for, because this is a decision not on the people who restored the film, but mostly the people who made the film. And I will say that if you want to see this movie, you should definitely buy it, because the restoration's good for the resolution and the audio as well. I don't have a surround sound system, so I can't really hear it, but from what I was able to hear, I found it to be epic. I mean, the way that the gunshots sound, the cannons, the music and the dancing, it just all sounds great. It's good audio track. When it comes to that part, it's fantastic. I loved it, and I think that it's probably one of the best audio tracks in the Criterion Collection. Now, the video is the part that it's lacking. Yes, I know that it mostly has to do with how they made the film, but I think that when it comes to that color fluctuation, it is really distracting. Now, why do I still recommend this movie? Because I think it's a really good movie. It has a good audio track. It has a good resolution within your video track, even though the film itself isn't the best looking. You have a lot of special features here. A lot of special features that would make it worth it and make worth buying this at $25 during a Barnes & Noble sale or a flash sale. That means it's a highly recommend for me. I've never seen a film like this, and I will never see another film like this. I am really happy with this movie. I'm really glad that I picked this up when I did, and I'm happy that you all got me to 200 subscribers so I could watch this. Now remember, at 400 subscribers, we are so close there. I'm going to be giving away a copy of La Strada from Federico Fellini, the single title that was released last year from the Criterion Collection. So make sure that we get there. We are almost there. We're at 325 now. So please help me out there and get us to those 400 subscribers. But in the meantime, I've really enjoyed talking about this movie with you all, and I've really enjoyed discussing this film with you all. It's one of the best I've ever seen. It's 100% one of the best films I've ever bought. It's also one of my favorite movies of all time, and I'm pretty sure I'm not going to stop talking about this film for a while now. Follow along with me on social media by checking me out on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Letterboxd, Serialized, and on Twitch at The Nerdy Chicano. I'm the same handle on all of those. Check out the Nerdcore by checking us out at thenerdcore.com, and on YouTube and Twitch under the Nerdcore. We're the same handle on both of those as well. Also, make sure that you follow along with what we're doing here. Tell me in the comments, have you watched War and Peace? Do you own this version from the Criterion Collection? What do you think about the restoration? I want to talk to you all, so sound off in the comments below. I would also like to note that for anybody who's on the Patreon, you are able to join me on Discord and talk to each other in that community. I want to start doing some film screenings in there once we get a good group of patrons down. But if you want to talk to me on the Discord, you got to go to patreon.com/thenerdchicano. Pledge to a tier and you're going to get instant access to that Discord. But in the meantime, to my cinephiles and renowned scholars, celebrate the love of cinema today, tomorrow, and every day after. Catch you all in the next one, guys. Bye-bye.